Welcome, hello friends, welcome to the World's Wealth Project, the sixth edition. Um, Elections in November for the American people to decide what's going to happen with America. A very big step, if you ask me, now that the parties, the only two parties that have governed America for the last, I don't know how many decades now, have showed themselves regarding who they are. I'm sorry to say that the American people is being represented by two of the most unreliable candidates for presidency in the history of the United States. We are watching very close the debates, especially the second debate, where the candidates were, as the first, throwing to each other the rocks that every and each of them believe why one or the other should not be the president of the United States in the next presidential election. And that harms no one but the American people. The rhetoric behind this discourse of both of them is what worries the American people and the world's wide opinion. There is no doubt that in the minds of the superpowers, or the powers that be, that includes Russia, China, of course, India, Brazil, and many others. But let's say China, Russia, and the United States. They're not in good terms right now. Both of the candidates have different views on how to support their policies in case they are to become the new president of the most powerful country in the world. But not only that, the American people has the American politics and foreign policies of the last 25 years, but especially the last 15 years, have developed an America that is impoverished, that in the words of Donald Trump, it's third world country. Every time that he comes from Saudi Arabia to North America, at the John F. Kennedy Airport, for example, he complained that it looks like a third world country, that America is not America anymore. They talk about racism. They talk about middle class, little business, the poor. But nothing changes. We have to remember that. Yes, Barack Obama received the country in one of the most unstable economic places in the American history. And the problem is that, according to Donald Trump and according to journalists, investigators, and many politicians that serve the American people, whether in office or now as independents, criticize that none of them have done anything good for the country. And they still have the same discourse, which is the poor, the middle class, and to create new employment for Americans. The truth is that how are they going to compete with the Asians? For example, Taiwan, the UPA, has 17,000 people, Chinese workers, living in a little town the size of Monaco. They're producing everything that Americans and Europeans and every country in the world consume, like irons and barbecues, you name it. All kinds of stuff are made in Taiwan or China. To compete with that by building infrastructure in America in order to produce the same items is going to be very difficult. So how is it that they're going to develop new jobs, sustainable jobs, not jobs, as Hillary Clinton said, with good salaries that are going to keep rising during their lifetime, the American people's lifetime? They have not talked about foreign policy yet. They only talk about Syria when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to Syria. Both of them have different perspectives on that matter. But the point is that Syria's war should be uh, taken in consideration immediately. And that's why here from the World's Whale Project, we ask from the powers that be, Russia, the United States, and the Syrian president, to stop the war in Syria now. This is a world's demand. The public opinion around the world are sick of it. How people die there, how you guys bomb all around the place. Mr. Putin, yeah, if you want to show that you're against American interests, you already did it. You don't need to keep killing people there and bombing innocent people in hospitals. The problem is, friends here, that what will America do if the Russians don't oppose American imperialism after what they did in Iraq? That has been criticized in this race for the presidency and debates when Donald Trump accuses Hillary Clinton for being the worst political decision maker in the history of America when it comes to Libya, when it comes to the assassination of the ambassador there, after 600 phone calls and emails that he sent to then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in order to support him, to prevent what was going to happen. And, well, we all know what happened. So Hillary Clinton had made a lot of mistakes, according to Donald Trump and according to the public opinion. And now that the FBI has practically gave immunity to the people that have anything to do with Hillary Clinton's not only campaign but findings after the not only what happened in Libya, but because of the emails that openly led the powers that be, especially Russia and China, to acquire easily such secret information that could have put anyone in jail just for one or two important secret documents that leaked, as explained by Edward Snowden in an interview with Al Jazeera. But you see that Edward Snowden is still in exile, lives in exile, and very possibly will never be able to come back or get back to his country, United States of America, because he did what in the public opinion, the world public opinion, was right, to denounce that the American government was doing the wrong thing. You ask yourself in this moment, and I ask myself, how come this Bradley Manning is still in jail for 30 years? That's what he was condemned to. And Edward Snowden is in exile. And people like Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, who evade taxes, according to Hillary Clinton, he evaded hundreds of millions or millions in dollars of taxes every year. So these two people that are in the race for the American presidency are nothing but, according to them, own mouth thieves. People that are not appropriate to govern the world. It's obvious that Hillary Clinton has way more experience when it comes to state policies and foreign policies than Donald Trump, of course. But they have something in common. They have investments, whether political investments or enterprises all around the world. So they both protect the same interests. The point here, the point that the World's Whale Project is trying to make here today for you and worldwide opinion, is that American people are going to elect not just a candidate for president or a president, maybe for the first time a woman president for their country, but they're electing their destiny, their fate. That's what they're doing right now on this election. This is not about Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and all their obscured and sinister past. This is about the American people, the middle class, the black, the white, the Latinos, the Muslim people. Because the American people, as Canada, is composed primarily by immigrants from all parts of the world. Yes, of course, there's going to be security measures that are going to be implemented, and they are, and they have to be implemented, of course. But as explained by Ron Paul many times in the in his race for the presidency of the United States, America has not been directly threatened since 9/11. Yeah, 9/11 has many, many doubts at how it happened and how come the towers came down and all those issues that we, public opinion, doubt very much that the explanations given by the government were the true ones. That is for you to decide. But getting back to what the American people are going to decide on these next elections in November are their fate, their destiny. It's very sad to see here that other candidates have no part in the American destiny, that have no voice, because the mass media candidates are the only ones, according to them, to be elected by the people. I have to say that, and it's only my humble opinion, that I was very disappointed with the decision of Bernie Sanders to support Hillary Clinton and asking his voters to do so. Now he's retracting about it, and I think it's just for him to ask for forgiveness or change his ways, because that's treason to the people who voted for him. The other candidate and the only candidate that has been shot at, literally, verbally, attacked by the BBC, by Fox, by NBC or MSNBC is Jill Stein. Jill Stein has been attacked, literally, by the mass media all around the world, especially Americans and allies, mainstream media. But she has, with resolve and with character and with knowledge of what the American people needs, defended her position when it comes to what is the fate of America if they vote for any of these two candidates. Yes, she is relatively new, but she has 15 years experience when she was recruited from the Green Party in the United States. She should have a chance in these elections, but it was not covered properly by the mainstream media. So what she has to do, in order to protect the American interest, which is the people's interests, of course, which are the least interests considered by these two candidates running for the presidency, Hillary and Donald, Jill Stein has had to create her own space in many internet avenues, not the mainstream media. So I invite you here in the World's Wealth Project to consider, American friends, to vote for her and create a counterpart for the only two candidates of the American presidential elections in 2016. President Barack Obama just this week spoke of them as the devil themselves. He used a few words saying that that they are Satan themselves, something like that. I don't have the words right now here, but it was in the words of Barack Obama. These two candidates represent the devil. And if it comes from the word of Obama, President Obama, you have to consider that seriously. Obama was a very liked person, but he indebted the nation of the United States way more than before. They talk about the Obamacare, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in the last debate, the second debate, and nobody's satisfied with it. How come the Americans have not developed a democracy that works for their people? Why is it? I think Jill Stein has explained that to you, Americans, more than once, over and over again. So the call from here is to remember the electorate in the United States, that the people have a chance and a mandate in the next elections in November. Vote not for any of those two candidates, but for the candidate that represents you better in the urns. In my opinion, it's Jill Stein. If you don't know who she is, take a look to her campaign. She has to make her own stand. She has to use the not the mainstream media, but Facebook and YouTube in order to catch your attention, guys. America, you are defining your fate right now. The two candidates for the presidency are warlords. Yes, Russia needs to be stopped, but you have to understand that Russia began acting like that because of American behavior in the Middle East and their imperialist tactics. Yes, it is okay that they want to protect their interests, but the problem is that the interests that they're protecting are killing the rest of the world. They're not helping them. They proclaim that they want a free world, but they are not making a free world for anyone. Look at Libya, look at Iraq. The only countries that they protect are the countries that do as they say. That means countries that live in poverty, whether they have enough resources for all the people to live decently. Mexico to La Patagonia, Latin America, considered the backyard for the Americans for the last 1.5 century. That's insulting for Latinos. Especially when Latinos have promoted and legal Latinos and illegal Latinos, unfortunately, have helped the economy of the United States big time. We find now candidates for the different parties in the United States that are Latinos. We find Negroes, very minimal of Latinos and Negroes or minorities, occupying places of importance when it comes to political life in the United States. Racism, exclusivism of the American people. These kind of ideas that are supported by these two candidates is what you have to think about. If you're going to elect a warlord, America, you're going to end up at war pretty soon. I don't give America 5 years before they go to war with Russia or China or both of them. We have to consider here that China and Russia have made important alliances lately. And if we want to keep the peace in the world, we have to elect a candidate that is able to manage that peace. It needs strong hand when it comes to abuses, when it comes to ISIS, when it comes to deliberate attempts against American soil and American people, no doubt. Every country in the world should do that. But the problem is, when they hide in their own corporate agendas, other systematic attitudes toward free world countries in order to devastate them, that's not working anymore. The American people is just divided right now, very divided. And the only way for you to unite is by voting for the right candidate. I sincerely suggest you to consider Jill Stein and her policies and at least create a big opposition against these two candidates, which clearly are not the ones that represent American interests, especially when you consider their shady and sinister past. Yes, of course, when it comes to politics around the world, no one has a clean path in order for them to gain presidential elections to work for them. The needs of billions of dollars, of corporate money, of the influential of the influence of the courts. You can see Vladimir Putin here, how he gained and won the race to power. And what are his interests now? His fortune is estimated in $40 billion, etc., etc. So yes, they all have a sinister past, but the point is, the people of the world, as demonstrated in Scotia 2 years ago, in that referendum there, in order to ask them, do you want to stay with the United Kingdom? Say no, 47%. They didn't won, but 47% of people, something nobody imagined, make and express their opinion against what the powers that be think that they can keep on doing. What happened with the UK when they asked their people, okay, you want to stay in the European Union? Everybody thought, yeah, they're going to stay in the European Union, it's all right. Well, it was not right. They didn't want it to stay in the European Union. That caused, of course, the Prime Minister David Cameron to quit, among other things, because he was being investigated at how he made his fortune. The point of the World Project right here is that the powers that be, governments, candidates, have to consider that democracy is not working anymore. Not the way you're showing it. Not the way you're showing it. Not the way you practice democracy. When you have American people, in the words of their candidates, if you pay attention to the last two debates, the American people is broke. There's no infrastructure. There's no money to invest in American people, and yet they have $20 trillion in debt. China and Russia are watching pretty closely what's going on in the United States, and they have noted that it's weakening time and again. Yes, of course, the military is might, and they will act. They mean business. So does the Chinese and Russia. So it's my suggestion here that America, please, pay attention to these options that you have. At least show the world and show the elites in the United States of America and allies that you mean business too by electing a democratic process in the hands and the head of Jill Stein. If you don't know who she is, listen to her. If you think she doesn't have what it takes to go to war if necessary, she does. Because it's expected from American people, of course, that the Army, the Navy, and all the forces around her will support and advise her properly in that, if that moment came to pass or it was necessary to go to war. But for Jill Stein, war will be the last resource. For Trump or Hillary, will be the first. That will make a big difference when it comes to United States soil and peoples, and also when it comes to the decision-making of the powers that be for the rest, towards the rest of the world. They spoke about new sources of energy. How are we going to create new jobs for the people that are displaced by the fracking or by the oil and gas industry? Well, take a look to Canada. More than 100,000 people lost their jobs. Doesn't that say something to you? American people and the worldwide people, public opinion, especially the powers that be, governments and elected officials, they have to understand that according to science, this economic model that you want to keep with the oil and gas industry is going down, is disappearing, is tending to disappear because we are in a destructive creation process. The same as happens in the Industrial Revolution is happening now with the oil and gas era. The oil and gas era is coming to an end. The problem is that they want to still keep a grip. They want to keep a grip hard in the countries that produce oil, even if they don't need it anymore, because America is stable when it comes to oil and gas right now. But they insist on those policies instead of applying the scientists, the teams like Stephen Greer, for example. They start applying zero-gravity propulsion systems. You want to mine? Stop mining. Why don't you just take all the extension cords that exist over the towers that takes the electricity to all the people when more than 100 years ago, Nikola Tesla proved and showed the world that he can bring, using high voltage vortexes, free energy for all. And these new candidates that speak about ecologic goals, that speak about technology, that speak about new sources of power, don't support Stephen Greer scientist team. It's the people. It doesn't matter what you say, Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. You are in a creation and destructive era. The oil and gas is done, it's over. Give these communities a chance. We're asking from the World Project to create communities in the United States. I asked for Justin Trudeau in the last edition of the World Project to give some land to us, the World Wide Project. In order for Stephen Greer, the group of scientists, Vandana Shiva, thinkers, philosophers, scientists, workers, the chance to develop a community using biomimicry, creating models of design for a new civilization. This is what we're calling for. This is what evolution is calling for. But you want to evolve. You don't want to evolve. And I'm calling, of course, the European Union. Because European Union, with these political models and economical models, with the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund and all this, are destroying the world. Economies are destroying the world needs for true democracy. Because the democracy, it doesn't exist anymore. It's just a word which doesn't apply for the peoples. The moment the people don't have hands on the job or how to live, because you have not foreseen this moment, and you're not interested in foreseeing moments like this, like the software creation, which is the process into which we pass from one era to another. When it comes to zero-point gravity and many other sources, high voltage, vortex voltages, propulsion systems. And it's also time that open the files for the extraterrestrials. This is the era to do that. Don't feel threatened by me. It's the world's opinion that I'm asking for. I mention again, Scotia, United Kingdom, Colombia, and Italy is going to have a plebiscite or referendum in November and December, and the people are going to speak. So America, please, keep this in mind. We have to change the model, the economic models in order to adapt to this new era we are already entered. You have to keep in mind the microprocessors that control computers are made in China. And you're giving China the power to know what technology you are using. Since 2006, China already proved to the American people and the American leaders that they mean business, like you do, when it comes to missile capability to destroy satellites by destroying one of their own in 2006. Okay. The war, the Third World War, already begun. The moment you start using war with nukes, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, because you have difference of opinion with Russia, you're going to start a Velik war. You know, as the people know right now, here in the World Wide Project, that we have a way out, and that is peace. And that is to create new models of economy. I don't know if you remember Voltaire when he said, all of a sudden, the true value of paper money is going to come to its intrinsic value, 0. And the rest in the next chapters of the World Wide Project, we will be talking about that. What kind of ideas are coming out from the World Wide Project in order to ensure that all the people in the world will have a way out of poverty, a way out of ignorance, and cooperate and to cooperate. Furthermore than religions, way away from religions differences, which is used as an old excuse to start wars and keep powers that don't care for their people. That is possible, that we can do it as a civilization, and we have to evolve, and we want to evolve. So consider this situation now that robotics are going to take over. We already invented cars that drive themselves, which are going to be applied on the transit system. So transit system drivers are going to be out of work. Doctors in medicine are going to be out of work. And now with the nanotechnology, we have come to create, using the chemistry and many other sciences, maybe, etc. The Nobel Prize went for the chemistry inventors of chemical machines that are going to replace the molecular machines, I correct here, that are intelligent and are going to replace the semiconductors that are used to control the missiles. Electromagnetic weaponry, which the Americans relied too much in, already have been discovered by the Chinese, and they can simply through an electromagnetic pulse destroy the capability of their carriers, their planes, and everything about that covers the expansion wave of a nuclear device that explodes. Whoever is out of range of the nuclear bomb will be safe. But all power grids, and everything that depends on electricity, on computers, will be neutralized. So, America, I end up this edition of the World's Wealth Project, with all due respect to you, American people and allies of the United States, to make the right decision. Your fate depends on it, your destiny. Show the candidates and the elites and the money in the politics and the lobbyists that you don't care anymore about that we are looking for evolution. We're going to carry on with the World's Wealth Project as it was. It's just that because it's election times in the United States, and the United States is the most powerful country in the world and has a few powerful enemies too that are against them, that we call for reason here. You said that you trust in God, but we already know that your only God is gold, money. You have proven that. And bad foreign policies. If you have a $20 trillion debt, I rest my case. And the poverty of your people, and the Latin America, and wherever you have any influence. We have to call for revolution here. We're going to show some models, economic models, that might be applied around the world, as shown by Vandana Shiva and by other scientists around the world, in North America, Russia, including China, in order to make peace around the world and evolve instead of looking for war. I wish you well, North America, and I hope you make the best decision the next elections. We still have a third debate to watch, and I'll comment on it from the point of view, and we'll have some interviews here in the program in order to debate these aspects. But I call from here for you, Vladimir Putin and Obama, and the next. We don't have to wait for the next president. It will be great if you stop the war in Syria now. Period. And please, America, make the right decision. Take a look to Jill Stein. Look for other alternatives and try to evolve. There are some models that we can apply in order to keep the people that are going to lose their jobs in fracking and the oil and gas industry to get back to normal, to have a stable life. Because the models that have been applied for the last 30 years have not worked. So, for us, for the country, for the world, I expect to see you next time in the next encounter with the World's Wealth Project. Au revoir.